Hi guys, you might remember the 4F here from previous videos. Now the first one I think we got it running on DC, and the second video we got it running on DCC with sound. Now I'm just going to show you something here because this really winds me up with the trains in general, and now it's the stopping and starting when it makes contact or doesn't make contact with the track. You can be very clean with the track and the loco, but the problem is you're at some point going to come into probably a point, a junction, a turnout on a track, and the loco is going to cut out, and it's really frustrating, especially when you've got sound. I'm just going to try and show you something here. So I'm going to pull away, we'll turn steam on, I'm going to go forwards just slowly. And it's stopped. Now it'll probably start up again in a second, or when I nudge it, but I can't be having that with sound. It's not acceptable. So obviously that might be the track actually, because it keeps dying in the same place. But when it comes to junctions and turnouts, it's even worse, because I have insulfrog points. I could get electrofrog points, but I don't really want to. What I'm going to try and do with this loco is actually install a stay alive. So what you're seeing here, it will hoof around, but I need it to go very slowly and traverse points and crossings slowly, just like the Pannier tank loco that we did with the stay alive in it. But this one's going to have sound, so I need this bad boy to have it will slowly crawl. That's not an issue. The problem is getting the power to the loco, and as much as I clean the track and the loco, it's just not practical on a layout. So I'm going to try and fit a stay alive in here. Not sure where it's going to go yet, but we have put a cordless motor in the loco end, so my thinking is there might be some space at the front of the loco there for us to put a stay alive in. So let's open it up and we'll have a little look. Okay, so we're back at the bench. I'm just going to open this up again. I can't actually remember how to get in this, even though it was only a couple of weeks ago. I do believe it's just one screw on the loco body itself. I think it's this front screw here, which makes a bit of sense. Not my videos really, I hope they help you guys out. What it is though, the reason I'm videoing it all is just so that if you ever thought, oh, I wonder if I can add this or that to that loco, then hopefully your answer is in one of my videos somewhere and it helps you out somehow. Okay, so I won't be able to lift that all the way up because there's wires. The coupling can go there. I'm basically just showing you the evolution of, I guess, my trains. There's really no space up in there at all. That's a shame. I'm just looking now. I mean, there's space in there, but what I was kind of hoping was at the front it was a hollow, and it's definitely not. It's just full of die cast. So I think that's shunned that. The next point of call would be the tender area, but we've got a speaker and the sound module in here. Let's have a little look. So I'm just going to remove the tender. We can have a better look then. I'll just turn the whole thing upside down so then you can have a look. I'm pretty blasé with how I'm getting my missions accomplished, and I don't think I do it too wrong from what it's meant to be, but there you go, there's the chip in there and the speaker at the back, and we put that bit of foam in there just to sort of muffle the noise a little bit and limit vibrations. Okay, so you can see what's going on there. There might be a bit of space here that we can play with. I'm also just looking at the bottom of the tender here. What I might do potentially is cut some of this out, because I'm looking at the wheel rims and they're nowhere near the top of this plastic, which in my eyes means that I could probably cut the plastic out enough for a stay alive, possibly. And I just got to bear in mind that this actually, that's more or less the space we have got to play with. I've got two types of stay alive, so this is my intention, is to put a stay alive in. I'm just going to go grab them, and then you can see what we're talking about. Okay, so we've got two flavours of stay alive. This is the one that you've probably seen in all my videos so far. I think so anyway. I think the HST early on might have had one of these, but it might have also had one of these. So this is what I would call the flat pack, and there's a high potential that that's actually going to fit in the tender under the chip. That's what I'm looking at and aiming for. This square pack, I'm not entirely sure where it would go. However, the added advantage of this one might be that I can almost rearrange it slightly, like take the pack apart and move the capacitors around so that they fit in various places. What I'm going to do, I think, let's offer that up under here. Now you see it's ever so slightly just proud of the tender box there. Not by a lot though. I think what I'm going to do is actually start just cutting away at this and see what we got. I'm not too worried about how I'm going to be wiring this up just yet, because that'll just have to come later on. But even on the tender, I mean, it's quite a solid lump, this. If you look underneath, it's all just a solid mass. And there's another way I could tackle this. This tender doesn't have any pickups, so I could actually 3D print a way in which to hold these wheels within this frame. I'm trying to avoid as much work as I can, but what we'll do, I'm going to just take this apart. So that first screw was for the coupling to the loco. So maybe just keep an eye on your orientation of parts as you're disassembling, or just use this video as a reference. That's the screw we cut down, so it wouldn't poke the electronics. That can go there. You see what I mean here? That's just a solid chunk of die cast. We've got to be aware of this spring, so it doesn't ping in your face. So we'll just remove that so it's safe. I'm going to just tip the wheels out. There we go. Put all those to one side. And what we got? So this plastic piece, I believe, looking at this, should pull out the coupling end, because it looks like it slots in that end. And what just fell off there? Okay. Interesting. Very interesting, actually. Okay, so that bit that's just fallen out, it's just fallen out between this and this, up the top here. Now that's very interesting. That's interesting because this, I recognise this and that kind of setup. I don't know what pickups would fit, but it looks very much like you could actually fit pickups from, I'm going to just say a class 8 possibly. It looks a bit smaller than that, or tender pickups into this loco. They've decided not to do that on this. That might be why there was a hole in the tender right at the beginning. That is very interesting. Which means, like, you know, if you wanted a really good DC running for F, you could probably, I mean, it's got the all the parts there to actually fit them in. When you fit pickups to loco wheels though, you just got to bear in mind that you're adding more friction to the wheels, so it'll just have to drag it a little bit more. What I'm going to do is just hack this away. And so this will be the front. I just want to see here how high the wheels go. So you see, just there, look. So they're more or less level with this top of this piece here. So I can carve some out. Yeah, I'm just going to have a play, I think. I'm going to start cutting things and see what we get. Well, nobody's perfect, and look, I make mistakes. It ripped there. I'm showing you this because this is how life is. It's quite brittle plastic, and it's kind of torn away. Very odd. What I find though is if you score the plastic, you can kind of just snap it off. I'm not actually overly worried about that because once the gap's closed up like that, you can't see it. And then I go like that, and you can. Ooh. Not worried about that at all. You can probably buy these from Fashion Spares, I'm sure you can. But we shall resume. So I've made a hole now. That should definitely fit in it. The next thing I'm going to do though is offer it up under here. That's a bit unfortunate that that's actually attached. Just removing it to make my life a little bit easier. As well, a lot of people tend to put plugs on the wires and things, so like that makes it a lot easier to remove shells and things. So like if you had lights on like on the HSTs, if you had lights on the HSTs on those shells, it's very easy to disconnect the shell and remove it from the loco. But those plugs do take up space, and a lot of the time when you're doing something like this, that space is quite valuable. So I opt to normally just solder the wires on. Okay, so that actually, obviously you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just putting it all back to front, loopy doopy. And we've got that massive void there that I'm hoping this will actually sit inside of and down. Just about. Yeah, I think she'll sit in there. But what I want to do is just put this in now, loosely. Because I need to see whether the wheels are going to want to scrape the bottom of the stay alive. If you're watching this, you probably know what a stay alive is. It's a bit late on in the video to explain what it is, but it just keeps the loco powered enough for it to get over troubled spots like points. Now the heat shrink on these is actually a lot thicker than it needs to be, or let me re-emphasise that again. The heat shrink is thick compared to tape, let's say sellotape. So my normal way of gaining that a little bit extra clearance is just to remove it be very careful if you're doing this. I've not powered this Stay Alive up as of yet. But you have got to be careful because it is basically a battery. It's a potential of energy. This is the first time I've taken one of these apart. I would love to be able to tell you what the capacity is of these capacitors as well, but I just don't know what it is. They're not written on them. I think these are about 11 to 12 pounds, and they just transform the trains. And for that price as well, I mean, what have we got here? We've got a capacitor. I do believe that these are actually diodes. So what they're there's a diode in each one, I believe. So they're basically acting like a full bridge rectifier. And then what's that there? It says 9M on this little piece here, that component. Now that might be a diode. I'm not being too particular here. There's a bit going on there. There's a little resistor just next to that 151 capacitor. You could probably make your own circuit board just out of ease. I mean, I just buy them, chuck them in. So I don't want to put this in there like that at the moment. However, I think that's where it's going to live, you know. But yeah, so that's to actually insulate this, you could use Kapton tape. I'm probably going to just use sellotape because it's thinner and it will give me that insulation barrier that I will need. I think it's around here I solder one pad on, and then I need to just check which is the other pad to solder onto before we continue. Okay, so looking at that picture that I've just flashed up for you, we've got a blue wire and a black wire that we need to connect. So luckily for us, let's just flick back to the loco here. The chip is actually in a good orientation for me to not actually have to move the chip. So again, look at the picture, and then come back, and we've got 1, 2, 3. So that third pin just there is going to be the negative, the black wire on the Stay Alive, and then if we go over to the front, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll be that one there. That's the blue wire, which is pretty handy because I can solder them in situ. Actually, I don't have to move the chip. What I'm intrigued to know though is actually whether I can move the chip up, because just looking at this, I remember there was a bit of a space under this, so I've just cut all the tender out, possibly for no bloody reason. I'm gonna get cocktail stick here. This might be pretty cool. Because if I can move the chip lower, so like say to this height, and the Stay Alive sits above it in the tender, we're onto a win there. Can we though? Oh, I don't know. It looks like there's absolutely loads of space. It's just like all of it, absolutely ridiculous on a fiddly level. So yeah, Hornby TTS chip does fit in, and I'm hoping you can see in there's a massive cavity. I'll just try and get in. See that post just there, and there's one on the other side. If I cut them down, let's see if I can kind of have a little looky. Right, so what's happening is there's a step there and a step there that stop the the chip going any lower, but it doesn't need to go any lower if I fill the gap down there with a stay alive. That will be cool. I'm gonna now have a look at that. Let's see if we can do that. Being careful not to destroy any of these wires. Yeah, that will be cool. Let's try it. Get me old trusty side cutters down there. You'll probably find yourself, you can be a bit more finessed with it than I'm being, because there's not a camera in your face. So I'm quite far away from this whilst I'm doing it, because the camera's literally there, so you can see what is going on. So side cutters, that's done an alright job. And I'll do the other side. And then really what we want to do is, I'm going to tape the stay alive using sellotape, so it's the thinnest thing I have. You could probably use a bit of paper, but the tape will stay stuck and it won't move around. I've literally just blown the bench and blown everything across the bench. Who'd have thunk it? So I'll have to be finding out where everything's gone in a minute. I'm just going to get some sellotape, and I'm hoping this can just live in there. Oh, how cool would that be? Okay, so what I've done off screen is I've just put a bit of sellotape over the top of this. Okay, so it's just in case there's any built up charges and they won't jump across onto the more expensive Hornby chipboard there. Let's see what we get. Wow. I think that's going to work. I know this chip isn't all the way down as it was, but it's almost like it's almost where it was before, which is great. Wow. I'm just going to offer this in. So those wires were over here. Again, I'm trying to be careful. If you keep moving wires, they just sort of snap off. Now, why doesn't that want to go down? Ah, yeah. Okay, so the reason now this won't go down is because of this post that the screws into to hold all this together. Now I'm probably just going to cut that off now, because to me all that post does is hold the axles to the tender, and to be honest with you, I'm just going to super glue it on. It's a real bodge, but I don't mind. I think with that, the fact that I can put the stay alive above the sound module and have a speaker in there at the same point. It's a Graham Farish loco. It's pretty small. That's real cool. So yeah, I'll zoom out a little bit. You can see what I'm doing then. Only a little bit. Well, I'm probably going to go halfway. see, that's what I mean. It kind of snaps along the score line, and that's off. Come on, guys, what we got? We'll glue that back later. Oh yes. Oh yes, yes, yes. Beaut. That's flush now. Now the only thing I want to check is whether this will be okay if the wheels are in there. Hell yeah. I'm not trying to kid myself either, like that's in there, that's good. Just. But I'm really quite worried about, you got two sides of the rails here being quite close to the chipboard in there. So what I shall do is, I think I'm going to solder the wires on now for the stay alive. And quite simply, what I'll probably do, you could put actually a piece of paper over the whole lot, or what we removed from here was a piece of foam. I could go over it. I'm probably just going to put tape over it, you know, just so that there is a protection layer. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, that one there. Okay guys, I'm going to heat up the soldering iron, and then we'll solder some wires on. Okay, so we're back. I've set the camera up a little bit differently. I kind of want you to see what is involved a bit closer up, and I've tried to get the light in a bit better. What I'm going to do is go for this black wire first, I think, only because it's the closest wire. You can see how fiddly this is going to be. So if you look at the picture again, the reference that I've basically made this wire, I've made this picture up for you guys, but also for me. So what I have off screen is I've got cheat sheets. So that one there just shows me the wiring where Stay Alive would go, and then I've got others like wiring out a 6-pin decoder. So if you have a look at the Pannier tank engine I did with the made by Dapol, I've got that as a cheat sheet. It's very handy just to print those off. You can even do like a print screen and just refer to them yourself instead of going backwards and forwards on the video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this wire. This is the black negative wire from the Stay Alive. 1, 2, 3. So go 1, 2, 3 from there, and I think it's going to be about there. You don't always have to cut the wires bang on the length, because sometimes things go wrong and you've got to cut them back, like down a bit. You've got to cut them again basically and redo everything you've just done. So keeping them a bit longer is a good idea for flexibility in the system. There's loads of ways you can do things. This is how I do it. The other thing I'm going to do here now as well, I'm just going to turn the loco round because I'm bringing the soldering iron in from this direction. I do not want to touch that blob. That's where all the sound is kept for the chip, and I don't want to get heat on it, in it, round it, near it, whatever. I want to give it a fighting chance of not screwing up. So I'm turning it there, so now I'll come in with the soldering iron from here and just touch it. I'm going to just pre-solder that pad on the chip. So just move this stuff out of the way so that doesn't get touched. Clean the tip of the soldering iron again. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, that one. Hopefully. Just there. I mean, I've got the soldering iron pretty hot, so it just blobs on. My heart goes every time I do this. Maybe I do all this sort of stuff for the adrenaline, I don't know. But if I screw this up, the chip's screwed, basically. It's a very risky thing to do. I think I'm going to feed this under those two speaker wires we've got over there. I don't really want this wire touching the chipboard at the minute. I don't think it really matters. So I'm going to just put a bit of a kink in it. So it's going to come in from that angle there. That looks actually okay. Okay, so I think that's better. At this point I just hope it works when I put it all back together. So 1, 2, 3, that's our negative there. That'll go down there in a minute. Then we've got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that'll be this wire. So I'm just going to go sort of somewhere around here. And then just literally pinch the end of the wire. And you'll see it's gone a little bit brighter. It's because I've almost stretched it. Now as soon as I put heat on that, it will retreat down. It should retreat. Like that. That is good looking, okay? So we're going to come over to our pin number 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just going to try and get a good angle on this. I'm going to put some fresh solder on there, like that. And hopefully, let's see where this one will probably want to sit, somewhere there. And she's on. Whew. Wow. Now at this point, I'm not going to, but at this point, you could go take your loco to the track and almost, I don't know, put an elastic band around this or a bit of tape and just test the loco. So you put it on the track, make it go forwards, make it go backwards, leave it on the track for a couple of minutes, then make it go forwards again, lift it off the track, and if the wheels are still going, your stay alive's working. I'm fairly confident after doing the amount that I have done now that the stay alives, I've not had any dodgy ones, so I'm fairly confident of kind of putting this together. Or at least in my case, what I'm going to do is just tuck the wires somewhat away, back down somewhere where they're not going to be in the way, and I'm just going to kind of put the wheels back on and things, and so I can actually drive it around the track instead of levitating that tender. Put this bad boy on. So what you'd be doing on yours would be putting the spring in, and then I tend to put the spring in first, then there's a little nipple on the end of the coupling, hook it over the spring, and down and in, and at this point you want to be quite careful. They don't really ping out that often. So I've got the screw started there, because then that's where you know where this bottom plate's going. Then what I'm going to do, let's do it this way around. Then I'll put the super glue on. Trying to avoid wheels and springs. And now when you put it down, it will go exactly where it wants to be, because that screw's basically making the plate go where it needs to go. So this screw is just to hold the link on, which goes to the loco like that. Yeah, so that's on. We want a short screw. Ooh, on this bit, so that's the other end of the link. If I need to get back in there, I know that super glue will crack off the aluminium, but it's enough to hold it whilst I run the loco around for like ever, You want to make sure that moves. And freer the better, but you don't want your screws dead loose. I did take the screw out the front of the loco, so I'm going to put that one back in, because we don't really need to leave that out. Well, we don't want that left out. I'm gonna screw around with the finessing of it later. What I'm gonna do now is just put it on the track. So let's go over to the track and see if our stay alive works. I've put power on. There's no sound at the minute. We're just gonna go forwards. Now I've had power on the track for a couple of minutes, so I'm hoping I'm running 12 volts on my DCC setup, so that should be enough for it to have charged enough to move. So I'm gonna pull away at a slow crawl here. It'll take a while because I've put accelerations quite high. Just go a little bit quicker. So far so good. Let's go over this point, because if it's going to die it'll be on about here. Oh man, that's so good. Get yourselves a stay alive. Oh wow. I know they're good, but every time I see this, it's a miracle. I'm just wondering how slow we could go over it. I know those stay alives, they last quite a long time. How good is that? Let's go the other way. Again, it just takes a while for it to change its direction because of what I've done. This might struggle, but it won't be a pickup issue. What it will be is the flanges binding, I would imagine. That's so cool. Oh wow. That's not it. Let's go that way. Yeah, well, what I'm going to do, I guess, is run it round for a little bit. Let's see how slow it will go over this. I won't go any slower. There's probably some settings I can change to improve its running, but I think overall at the minute that's pretty good. It didn't even hesitate. It's literally, the only friction it's got there is the flanges binding each side of the rail. That's because it's going around a corner and it's 3 axle. Going a straight line. So I'm not touching anything. I've just said go forwards, go backwards, and it's now going at this speed. Now, going at this speed, what I'm really trying to do is just induce a problem. I just want to see at what point it does stop. Because this has only got the same amount of pickups as that pannier had. How cool is that? It helps it being cordless, and the camera's right next to this, so you can hear the sound of the motor. Maybe. It's so quiet. Well, I'll put some steam on. And that. Oh. Let's see if the sound decides to cut out. It shouldn't do, because the motor didn't, and that consumed more power. So I'm going to have a little bit of a play for a minute. I might video some of it, but I'll leave you guys with a montage of running, I think, because that's a success. I really wanted to stay alive in this, and it hasn't disappointed at all. She's really running nicely. What I might do is just adjust some of those volumes. It's really loud. Wait for her to come back. Yeah, I definitely need to adjust some volumes there, I think. She's not struggling at all. We'll be back in a minute, I'll show you it running around properly. Well guys, that was a bit of fun. That's exactly what we wanted. Yes it is, yes! Lovely little stay alive. So I'm not trying to make you sick. What I'm going to do, I've got this one, now, and I've got the oh gosh, sorry, I will stop trying to jerk the camera around. I've got this and I've got the pannier, and I'd love these two to be moving stuff around, a relatively small layout. But what is also required on this one and the pannier are little people basically poking out the side of the logo. And I'm not too fussed about weathering as much, but there could be a bit of dust sort of from the running board below sort of thing. The coal could probably be a bit matter than that, I guess. There's a few things that I want to do with these to finish them off properly, but I'm not rushing to do them for these videos. I just wanted to show you literally what I'm doing with Engage at the minute. I've got my fingers in all sorts of pies. I'm doing all sorts. There's, you know, it isn't just steamers. I prefer diesels, to be honest with you, but I do love the noises. And actually, just having put sound in them, it makes it so cool. The pannier hasn't got sound, but it could be done. But I'm not going to. This will be the one that's got the sound. And some of the bigger ones as well, the Britannia and definitely the Mallard. So actually, if you want to see me putting sound in a loco, I'm going to be putting sound in a Mallard at some point by Dapol. I'm umming and ahhing. I'm not sure whether to put a cordless motor in that or not yet. The Dapol motors I don't think are great, so that's why I'm leaning towards cordless motors. They pack more of a punch for a smaller size, and I could do with the space, and I definitely want to stay alive in the Mallard. So this is it for this video. The Graham Farish 4F, the absolute trooper that it is. The Stay Alive works a treat, and actually, looking at this cover here, it might possibly be raised just a little bit at the front there, but that's okay. I'm not even sure if it is actually. I'll have a mess around with that later, but it works, it looks great. The wires, don't you worry about them, I'll be sorting those lot out. So yeah, for this video, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope, I don't know, maybe you got a 4F, or you got a B1, and you fancy putting sound in something like that. If you wanted to put sound in something like this, the tender area, the space inside it is pretty much the same. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar to the Britannia. I know you could put a TTS chip in that, and possibly a speaker as well. A Stay Alive and motor though, not sure. However, you could probably put the motor actually in the cab, which leads me on to that poor little William Wordsworth that I got. This one, it looks a bit janky at the minute because I'm in the process of putting a cordless motor in the actual loco, and I'm trying to get it to run. I want to see what the comparison is between this and the Britannia really. So far results are looking good, so look out for a video in the future on that. But like I say, there's all sorts of things going on. But this one pretty much is done until I come to the layout stage, where then I will start doing the detail work on it, with little people poking out the side. So mechanically she's good and sounds good. I might mess around with the sounds CVs a little bit more, but for the moment I'm just going to enjoy it, have a little play for the rest of the day with it, I think. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.